Hi everybody, it is Crystal here for Talk to Me Tuesday, the very last one of 2019. I hope 2020 is a much better year than this one's been. It's been just the single worst year of my life, which feels dramatic to say, but it's been rough. And I'm glad it's over. Although, I mean, who knows what life will bring, but anyway, crafty things. Let's talk about crafty things. The last time I was here, I showed you this quilt that I was working on. It's totally finished now, all quilted and bound. I should have tested this camera more to see what would show, because I don't know what you're actually seeing. I'm not going to show you the close-ups of all the quilting. Mostly it's just on Instagram, and most of you follow me there anyway, so you might have seen it already. If anybody's interested to see it, I'll try and do close-ups on a day when there's a little bit better light. There's never good light in winter here. This is it from the back. So basically I just used, other than buying the panel for the front, I used everything that I had. All the fabric for the back and the binding came out of my solid stash. And I used threads, which I don't know if you can see my threads over here, but I used only thread that I had, so if I didn't have a color in the rainbow, I just used something else. I used like beige on the purple and actually on the green as well, and I even had a green. I just didn't use it. I have lots of green, but I guess none of them felt like the right green. Anyway, yeah, it's done. I'm still toying with the idea of turning it up into some kind of wall hanging, just because I don't know, I'm not quite there yet for getting rid of it to donate it, but it's also kind of a weird size, so I don't know. That was my last finish of the year, but I did finish 3 quilt tops since I saw you last. The first one is on the wall behind me. This here is from, I'm gonna go grab the book. So I'm trying to be more mindful about using the quilt books that I have, as opposed to just buying them and then sticking them, on a shelf, which is what I've done with most of my books. So this one comes from this book called Oh Scrap by Lissa Alexander. It's a pattern called, find it here somewhere, Plus Marks the Spot. Right there, this one's mine. I'm hoping to get it quilted literally like in the first week of January so that I can just get it done and move on, because I really want to finish existing quilt tops instead of making new ones to quilt. So I'm going to do something pretty simple. I think I'm just going to do like, what's that called? Like lazy clamshells basically. So like humps all the way across, because it's all in the same width, so I can just sort of follow the existing markings and then come back and stagger it and turn them into clamshells. Shouldn't take too long, I hope. I can really drag a project out, but hopefully not this time. I actually have all the other parts that I need already ready, so this is going to be the binding. This grunge is going to be the backing. This one's going to be a charity quilt. I have a few of them stacked up, so I really need to find a charity to give them to that's like hopefully nearby. The other quilt tops that I've finished, I finished both of my dinosaur ones. So this one is a pattern from somebody online whose Instagram and Just Get It Done Quilts is the name of her blog and her Instagram, and she has a YouTube channel. So she did a tutorial for this on her YouTube, and then I just made it bigger. So she used, I think, 9 fat quarters and I used 18 to make this. So it's kind of like a big throw or a small twin. This is only about 1/4 of it. And yeah, simple but cute, I think. And then its matching one is, why don't I remember things? It's like Fat Quarter Friday or something is the name of it. And it's designed by Cluck Cluck Sew, I believe. I should have fished it out before I filmed all of this, but anyway, I hope to get both of these quilted in January because I'm going back to Saskatchewan in February, and then I would be able to pass these off to my friend whose kids they're for. But 2 big twin quilts is a pretty big ask for me for quilting, so we'll see what happens. And then I guess the last thing I have to show you is a 95% finish, and it's not really my finish in any stretch at all. So several years ago, oh, this quilt is so heavy. Several years ago, one of my good friends, his mother-in-law, passed away very unexpectedly. She was a quilter, but her daughter has no interest in quilting at all. So they knew that I quilted, so they gave me her sewing machine. And Sherry, that's my friend's wife, when she was giving me the sewing machine, she pulled her mom's last project off of her quilt frame and stuffed it all in a bag and gave it to me. So she hadn't started quilting it at all, but it was all pinned on to the, she had like a Grace frame, like one of those wood ones. It was all pinned on and ready to go. And so all she did was she took out those pins and like unrolled it and shoveled it in a bag with a bunch of purple thread. And I've been so afraid to quilt it. I thought I would ruin it. And so I was so afraid to do anything with it. And it stayed in the bag for like 5 years. And finally this year I fished it out and discovered that it's a king size quilt. Holy shit, it's big. So at any rate, I paid somebody to quilt it. But I wasn't very smart and I forgot to ask them about binding. And then when I was there dropping it off, they told me if I wanted them to sew the binding on, just to contact them within a week, kind of, because their turnaround is about 1 to 2 weeks. So they said to just contact them and bring them the binding and they would sew it to the top for me. And I forgot, like a dumbass. And so now I have to trim and bind this enormous 100 by 112 inch quilt. Yeah, so this is kind of it. I can't show you anymore. It's too heavy. Like, I swear, I feel like my arm's gonna fall off just trying to lift this thing up. It's all more of the same. It's kind of purples. I guess you can't see any of the purples here, but it's all kind of purples and greens and a little bit of pink. And it's huge. It's a bento box pattern. I got them to quilt giant swirls on it, and when I say giant, I mean really giant. I felt like this thing was so heavy that it didn't need anything else like weighing it down, whether visually or otherwise. So I got quite big stitching. Like, the blocks are 15 inches, and I would say that the pattern is stitched out at pretty close to 15 inches as well. So there's no more than 1.5 inches between any given point, but it's huge, which might have caused a problem, but actually I think it looks good. But this thing is so heavy. So I want to give it back to Jeremy and his wife at any rate. I hope that they like it. I know they have a king size bed, but colors and taste wise, I'm not sure it's for everybody, but I hope that it will be to Sherry's taste. I hope she'll appreciate having back her mom's last quilt. Yeah, it might be nice to have it back finally, and I can only apologize when I return it for having taken so flippin' long to do it, but that's my other hope for January, is to get this baby bound so that I can turn it over. I guess that's it. I'm just running off at the mouth now, so take care everybody and have a fantastic 2020. Bye.